Welcome everyone, my name is Brian. This is Above Board in association with Game Kings, and I'm very lucky today to be joined by Sven Obermaier of Cheap Sheep Games and Till Peters, the designer of Castleshire. And today they've agreed to speak with us here on the channel and sort of answer some questions about the design process and about the game itself and shed some light on their upcoming crowdfunding campaign. So welcome guys.
Hello, thanks for having us here.
Hi, how you doing?
Welcome. So just want to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your role in this process.
Right, yeah, just briefly, I'm Taylor, I'm the designer. I like to think of myself as the unbound free thinker. So that's my role here.
Great.
And I am Sven, I'm an indie designer myself and have a tiny publishing studio, and this is pretty much my second title.
He's the man with the plan.
Yeah.
So Sven's first title, of course, being Crimopolis. You can see up here behind me. Fantastic game. So you guys have a crowdfunding campaign for your new game Castleshire coming up. When is that due out?
That starts on May the 12th. That's a Tuesday here in New Zealand time, in the New Zealand time zone, and we are finishing off 26 days later. So it's a nearly 4-week-long campaign.
Fantastic, nice long campaign. Excellent.
Mm.
All right. So just to let our viewers know too, before we get too far into this, we are running a little competition during this video. At the end of the video, count how many times the word Castleshire is said by anyone here, including mentions of the competition itself. If you can count the correct number by the end of the video and message us, message me, leave a message on the comments below, you'll get a prize. Sven, do you want to show them what sort of thing they'll be picking up? Fantastic.
We're having a couple of these mugs available. We'll see which one you pick with some of our characters from our game. And they have a little nice text on them in terms of making sure you'll get some discussion going on when you drink your coffee out of these mugs in the office. So yeah, we'll ship them around. This is New Zealand only, yes, but we ship them at our expense pretty much right after you have drawn the lucky winners, Brian.
Fantastic. Yep, that's great. So as Sven said, we'll be keeping the competition open on this video until the crowdfunding campaign ends, and the date will appear to my left. Doing this correctly, and we'll put all the details in the comments below as well. So do look out for that. And at the end of the video, there's a special bonus surprise that Sven will reveal at the end. So stay tuned. All right. So I guess before we get any further, I'm going to simply ask, what is Castleshire?
Yeah, what's Castleshire? It's a board game, obviously, but it's also a card shedding game. It has bluff mechanic at its core, I would say. That's the most important mechanic there. It's based in a mythical kind of medievalish kingdom where there's a majesty who's obsessed with building the perfect castle, and the players are the best builders in that kingdom, and they are supposed to build it for them. Now the builders, they don't care so much about perfect, they just want to be famous. So there's a bit of a conflict going on, and that results in many a castle being built, and that is the theme of the game. Yeah, there are a few more dodgy characters joining in, and yeah, that's about the gist of it.
Great. So how did you come up with the concept for Castleshire? Like, what was your design process or your thought process?
Yeah, finally, it's one of those things that you literally dream up. It was a long time ago, 2017, when I dreamt of that concept. I woke up the next day and thought, oh, wow, that's cool. I should try and make some cards. And luckily, my mother-in-law was here, who's daughter. She's really into card games, and she was keen right away. And so, yeah, I jotted it out, and she responded. So we played it quite a bit. So that was really cool. Fantastic. Yeah, that was the initial spark.
Excellent. So what were some of the challenges that you faced during the getting that idea from the first idea through to the implementation, meeting Sven or connecting with him and approaching the publishing company? How did that all happen?
Yeah, well, what wasn't challenging? Yeah. It was always hard to get a good supply of new playtesters. Yeah, then the graphic design, doing all the prototyping, but at some stage I found that the local library, they have a laser cutter, and these guys are just awesome. The Christchurch Tauranga Library, especially my man Robbie. He helped me so much in building these designs, and yeah, I've got quite a few things that I did there. Laser cut, like this little mini game where you can push out some bits, and like this trophy that we had,
Fantastic.
and also the game board, which is just a part of it. So many opportunities there, and that was really amazing. That without that, I probably would still be scribbling on cardboard with my markers, and so that was fantastic help. Yeah, and then I was in a bit of a dry patch, I guess, when Sven came on board, and he was so motivated and positive that yeah, that gave the whole thing a new wave, and yeah, so that's how we got further, and actually are close to getting it to a bigger crowd, which is really exciting.
Fantastic. So Sven, maybe you could shed some light on your perspective, your side of things. At what point did you come into the process, and how did that happen?
I wonder whether actually the hardest challenge for Till was to get me excited, because I didn't like the game at the start that much. It was like, just another card game. But we played so many card games, I ended up actually liking it more and more the more we played. The hardest part was possibly the presentation side of it, because it's a card shitting game at the end of the day. But if you look into the box today, it's a board game, a full-blown board game with a big cloth and lots of components and meeples and all of that. It doesn't appear like a card shitting game in the first place. And we had a local game store here in New Zealand that helped us making understand when people get attracted to actually look at the game box before they even open it. And that was from my perspective, one of the hardest things. How do you get a game out there that people like approaching, like looking into before getting really deeper? So how do you stand out of these hundreds or thousands of games in this game store and people look at them? So right, that was my biggest thing over the last maybe 2 years or 2.5 years. Yeah, that drove me quite extensive into experimentation.
Okay, so in that case, how closely does this final product resemble what was first presented to you at the beginning?
Not at all. The first one, I'll get this out quickly. The first one was a pile of cards, to the point that Till decided to have some cards folded that made up meeples at this particular point. And folded cards, to me, this is like, oh my God, I can't just damage my game. But here you can see that in the end. And we ended up pretty much turning this thematically even into something detouring at some stage. We had a camel game through Asia. At some stage, we took the entire castle theme into something more oriental and came back to the original game. And yeah, it turned into a full-blown board game with a now big box. I mean, the earliest thing, maybe Till show us the little box we had that we thought is the most brilliant thing ever. So that's a box. You can see it's a perfect cube. You open with the cards slid in and dice slide into this box to have the smallest possible box with the most amount of components in it. And we've actually got feedback no one is going to buy that. So even though the game appeared good to us, it didn't. And it turned up to become like a real big box right now with a book style flair to this, where you can get all of your ingredients or board game components out of this particular box to just have a totally different board game player appeal than this little tiny cube.
Fantastic.
Yeah, even with the components, we played around with so many things. Originally, it was just cards, and I really wanted it to be just cards, so people can just take it away in their pocket and play wherever. And that's what Sven already mentioned. With you having your fame markers as cards that I just followed over. But then, yeah, we experimented with all sorts of things. Even had a physical castle that we put together. Things like that. So yeah, there were so many themes as well that we looked in, but we always came back to castle, building something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what it really matched the best, the whole idea of the game.
So now that the game has kind of evolved to this basically as good as finished state, I'm sure there may be a couple of tweaks here and there, but from the product I saw, it looked pretty polished and pretty finalized to me. What is each of your favorite aspects of the game now at this point in the process?
The favorite aspects, that's the
Pick one.
yeah, it's always the laughter, the fun people have, really. But in terms of the game itself, it's probably that everyone's active all the time. It's not like you do your turn and then you wait forever. It's everyone has to watch out what's happening, and there's always a chance that you do something right away. And yeah, you don't have to wait for someone else to finish. So even with more and more players, even if you play with 6 players, it's not that you have to do your turn and wait for 5 times as long.
What I like the most is possibly the way we got the rules onto the table. So even though we have a rule book, that rule book is like 12 pages in total, but there is a glossary in it, there's a setup. So at the end of the day, the entire rule set is on a double page. You can read the entire game on a double page. And we put actually exactly 10 expansions into that rule book. So you can play the base game, and you have an evolutionary aspect to the rules. So you can start playing like within 5 minutes technically, and then you add one expansion or one set of rules and more components into the game until you have learned the entire set. So if you're a seasoned gamer, read it completely. If you're starting with board games or you're younger, play the start rules once they're in your head. Once you play it once or so, throw an expansion in or two and get to the full set.
Right. And that brings me to another interesting point. You've got a couple of different versions of the game that's going to appear in the Kickstarter. Is that right? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that.
Yes,
So we have a base game, which is pretty much this box that comes with already 4 of those mini expansions built in. But this is pretty much something to get warm with, like you're a younger person, a younger audience, or you're not having that many board games, or want to give someone a present, or you don't know exactly whether you like the game a lot. Get this box pretty much. And then we have a second one that is a smaller box as well. That's our travel box. The core components fit into this. And that comes with another 4 expansions. So there's this play cloth in it. It's a pretty big play cloth, more components, 2 extra players come with this box, and a few more material aspects or more components in general. And then we have, for those who really like the game in our playthroughs that we had or our events that we attended, and for those we make a custom-made wooden box that is, it looks roughly like this. This is a laser cut wooden box that looks like a book as well. It comes with something like a fat ledge that you can open, and you can pretty much get all of your components. And there is an insert tray system in there with bits and pieces you can take out, and your die has the right spot, and the cards are already pre-organized, and your little needles are the right spot. So that's something for the big fans that want something that smells like forest. This is how it smells when they come out of the laser cutter.
Smells like
it's worth to present them in a different way. Yeah.
That's definitely my favorite. That's the one I'm hoping to get. I love
okay.
deluxifying my games, so having the prettiest version of anything is always a plus for me. Fantastic.
Nice.
So you mentioned the different modules, and there's several different modules in the various versions of the game. What made you decide to include those from the get-go rather than having them included as like a optional add-on expansion pack later? And are there any plans for such an expansion?
Sven,
okay, I'll kick it off. So there's a couple of reasons. So Tilgate came with that game and said, I want to have a game that has absolutely no aspect of luck in there. So no dice, no randomness, and just pure strategy games where you have to think like identical setups. Think of chess, where it's pretty much no luck. It's about what you do in return to someone else's behavior. And this is how the game starts. You come with this symmetric approach, no aspect of luck, and you can play it. So I'm someone who likes more to take that approach. So if you are someone who likes take that situation or a bit of randomness you have to deal with in every different game, then you put one of or some of those expansions in. So I want to have a little bit of external people coming in and playing around with the game, or you have a die option as well, where you can say there is some sort of luck coming into the entire game for everyone, and everyone has to deal with. So this is what this concept more or less is about. On one side, a very quick start to get into the game, playing with the basic foundation of what Till's original idea of that game was, but adding those extra spices that a lot of seasoned gamer like, where something comes from the side and you have to deal with this one. It gives you, every time you play, a slightly different experience.
Fantastic. Yeah, great idea. So with the little modules, they add various sort of gameplay elements, new sort of characters or new ways of playing, or they change rules. I mean, generally the rule for an expansion is it sort of breaks some established rules or expands on them. Till, how did that fit with your original concept about not having any randomness? Or
I see that as an addition. It's not taking away any of that. If you still want to play it like that, you can still do that. You just leave out expansion 3, 5, and 7 if you don't want to introduce any of the luck elements. But it still fits into this. Even with those, it's quite balanced still, and you can you still have this where you have a very easy to learn game where the complexity comes with the strategies that you have, and with other people having different strategies, and then you have to adopt yours to make it to reapproach it. And this is what I originally wanted, that you have something very simple, but it gets complex through strategy. So that's still the case, even if you add more of these extensions.
Yeah, I think the modular system does it really well too, because it does open up the play space for people to kind of play the game the way they want, doesn't it? Like they can add or take away components as they like and kind of get a sort of bespoke gameplay experience for their group. Even the same person playing with a different group can change the gameplay experience accordingly, which is a really nice bit of flexibility there, I think.
Yeah, the dynamic changes anyway, depending on the group so much, because some people are just more into the bluffing thing, others not so much, and some are more aggressive, challenging others. I don't believe you're here, and so it's super dependent on the dynamic of the group, how this game pans out. So it's really interesting to see other people play as well.
I know my son, he's 10, he loves this game, and he also loves Chronopolis as well. I think at the time he was one of the youngest players, he said, that had played that game, Sven, when you were first developing that one. And he helped me play test Castleshire, and he really loved it. But we played multiple games in a row on a given night. But we tended to play at the base game with him, just for him to allow him to focus on that core strategy and those fundamentals of the gameplay. So I thought it was a really nice sort of baseline. And even as a game on itself, even if you don't add any of the modules, I found it was a really strong game.
Thanks for that. And thanks for playing with your son. It shows that you can play that game with an audience younger than what we recommend. We figured that roughly 12 is actually an age where people understand all of these rules and can start playing them. We have situations where we had people down to 6 years that could play that game, even though they couldn't even read, because if you leave those expansions out, you can make it quite simple and even fast.
Yeah.
We have some variations in the rules that even allow you to play like within 5 minutes with someone who's 6 years old. It's a 5-minute game. They stay engaged, they had fun, and they want to play straight away a second time, because it doesn't drag on for 20 or 30 minutes.
I think the gameplay tends to make sense too. You're sort of flipping cards, placing, everything's got a place to go. There's a number associated with it. So there's a lot of sort of learning that can go along for younger players as well. But certainly for more veteran players or more experienced players, there's a ton of challenge and a ton of strategy involved in Castleshire, which can really, bring all those elements to the fore.
I got taken away with the theme of the game eventually. I fell so much in love with it. And I said, how do we deepen that theme? And some of those expansions are truly there just deep in that one. So an example are these skills we're having. The mechanic is the variable player power, which means everyone plays at different strength or has certain skills or certain handicaps that you need to deal with. But in return, you can actually utilize that particular one and drive your other players to insanity to a certain extent, because you have something they have to compensate. one way or the other. So, and that gets quite deeply into a theme as well. So it depends if you're a witch, you just behave differently to a dragon hunter or to a blacksmith. And then that's what we pretty much brought out. That's what I like personally about that.
Yeah, we try to do it so that it's quite immersive. And that's what I also like about games. When you play them and you're in that game, you're not seeing anything around the table. It's just the game.
Yeah.
So as we sort of coming towards the end, I just want to recap again about the awesome Kickstarter campaign you guys have got coming up in the next month or so. Would you like to go into a little bit more detail around that? What can the folks expect to see during that campaign?
Phil, I was actually quite nervous. I ended up preparing this one over a year ago already. So this is how long the preparations are. We are right now finalizing the teaser video. Got a few people from Ireland doing voiceovers. We have a lot of people actually contributing to the entire campaign in the first place as well. But we'll have a couple of pledges that are purely for the standard retail version and the deluxe version that we're having there. We are about to pretty much give them nearly away as at wholesale price, meaning that you save like, I think you pay 45% more or so in a shop if you get them to standard price. So we really drop it down. We want to get the people to play the game. There is no margin for us pretty much in those when it comes to the Kickstarter campaign. And the wooden version that you saw earlier, obviously will be a one-off. We do that for Kickstarter. There might be maybe a couple of others later on for events, but this is pretty much the one and only time we do that. By the way, we'll have them with real wood made. Just ordered them in yesterday, and they're gonna look anyway, possibly quite mind-blowing. We'll see how that goes. But for Kickstarter himself, we'll do some stretch goals. Mostly you see them as budget funding stretch goals. We did it differently. We actually just want people to know about it and play the game. Yeah. And therefore we decided we stretch these additional components or quality based on really people sharing our campaign. So the more people talk about it, the more we will eventually pay and throw some more stuff in. So it's totally irrelevant how far we fund, if we fund, or what happens in total. But anyone who just wants to help, talks about it, pretty much gets us closer to getting proper or better material than we have. We put a few more extra components in, and the odd extra to certain expansion as well to make that all possible.
Excellent. And all of those particular components is sort of the upgraded quality of components and things like that. They will be across all the versions, so even the retail will benefit from the crowdfunding.
Yeah, nearly all of them. We have even a print and play version for those who can't get shipped something to Brazil or so. They can have a print and play version, and even that get extended.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice.
So any final thoughts of your own, Till, on Castleshire and its imminent success?
Yeah, I'm just really stoked that we got that far. Back then in the early days, I wouldn't have imagined it like that. And so big thanks to everyone involved who kept pushing me and us and helped along the way, play tested it on the conventions and the various play groups that enjoyed it. So I'm just really excited to get this to a wider audience and where people can share the joy and the love that we have for the game.
Fantastic. Well, you can join the Kickstarter campaign at the information to my left here, or your right, depending on which way you're sitting or viewing this video. And all that information will be, again, in the comments below. So make sure you do check that out. It's going to be a fantastic campaign. It's a great game. I've played it extensively. I can't wait to get my own copy at some point. And I think it's going to be a really great success. And I wish you both all the very best. Sounds like it's been a labor of love for both of you, especially you, Till, going way back from when you were 17, bringing this dream to life. So I hope you find the rewards for all your hard work.
Thanks, Brian.
No worries. So just, I guess, a final question. What's next for each of you after Castleshire? Are there any other projects you're keen to collaborate on, or are you going to take a break for a while?
Yeah, well, lots of projects always happening. We haven't really discussed any joint ventures, and so Sven has probably had enough of me for a while. Yeah, we both have some projects just do individually, not board game related for me at least. But I'd be surprised if we wouldn't come back together at some stage and do whatever.
Fantastic.
For myself, actually, Till was super easy to deal with. If I had been my own designer, I would have been a problem for myself. Till was super easy, took everything quite relaxed. For myself, I think the work really starts now with all of the retail coming in as well, getting the logistics, the distribution, the warehousing, all of that sorted. But after that, already in planning and some experimentation done, I'm working on a 2.5D jigsaw puzzle. So normally jigsaw puzzle pieces lie horizontally, or you have the 3D ones when you build Harry Potter houses and stuff. I'm going to have one that is standard places, but you have multiple layers of jigsaw puzzle layers on top of each other. And some of them are even vertical, like little trees to stand there and hold the layers together and in place. We'll see how that goes. I think I haven't seen anywhere anything like that. So we'll see whether I can get some prototypes out and see what board gamers like you like.
That sounds like an interesting challenge. You might find there's a reason why people haven't done that one before.
Or maybe. Yeah.
The design process, but I hope it works out well. I guess one thing that I've noticed both with Castleshire and previously with Chromopolis is just the attention to detail, and that want to kind of give a deluxeified experience just straight out of the box to anyone who picks up the game. Just the care of showing the components. You've got the 3D church and elements in Chromopolis, and you've got the books and the book style box for Castleshire, which just looks amazing. So yeah, I think you can tell the amount of work that's gone into it, and it's really going to, I think, pop off the shelves and catch people's eye, which is fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. You just touched on these little books. We have a little surprise, the ones you announced at the start of this interview. These little books, they are looking like this. So these are actually player boards. They have like stories in the back, and they open like real books open, and you put them down, and they have the rules, etc. We have manufactured one of these books, a series of them, but one type of those books with a set of rules that are actually unavailable in retail in the future, but for our oldest fans, so to speak. And we're giving here these books away for everyone who eventually DMs us or contacts us directly before the end of the Kickstarter campaign. Brian, you're the only one who's actually having that in your interview streams. There's nothing online about it. This is an absolute one-off. If you hear that, that's your chance. If you become a backer of the campaign and you put this keyword and send us a message with this keyword to us, we will be noting you down and refer your backing pledge towards an extra book of those particular components, and we ship it to you at no cost. So you get this, and this will never be available anywhere. So it's a true one-off that you may get.
Fantastic. All right, guys. So there you go. A little extra just for the viewers of this particular channel and this video. So it's worth sticking through to the end. For those of you who have been counting how many times we've said the word Castleshire, I just want to mention that Castleshire campaign will be Castleshiring very soon. The dates shown to the left, Castleshire. So good luck finding all those.
Thank you, Brian.
Welcome. That's right. So thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully this is going to help contribute to the success of the campaign. I think you've got a great product there, and now we hope that people will come to it and give it its due attention. So thanks so much. And if you're wondering where people can DM the voucher code or learn more about Castleshire, all that information will be in the description below. So do follow that to join all the appropriate social media avenues, and look out for the release of that in the near future. So thank you guys. Thank you, all the success to you, and appreciate you joining me here today. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for having us, Brian. It was good fun.
All right. Anytime.
Thank you.
All
Bye.
right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Cheers.